Hello, welcome to Talk a Good Game. It's match preview of West Ham United against Nottingham Forest. A huge game awaits us at the London Stadium with West Ham in the bottom three and 5 points behind the visitors. Gonzo, what's your thoughts on Forest, please?
For Nottingham Forest, a club with ambition. Nottingham Forest, a club who hate being called Notts Forest, by the way. I actually cringe on their behalf when I hear somebody else say it on the radio. Of course, it's Notts County and Nottingham Forest. Anyway, a team with desperate ambition, I think, really. They and an ambition, not just an ambition in terms of manager, but a club ambition, certainly, which saw them obviously get promoted and then have a massive spend up and bring in, I think, an unprecedented number of players. And when that didn't quite crack it, they then got to January and they brought in some more players. You get the impression it's a club that will throw the kitchen sink at staying in the Premier League, but also a club whereby earlier on in the season showed an enormous amount of faith in their manager and probably set the benchmark in sticking by your manager, because when Cooper came under pressure earlier on, and there were because of the amount of money he'd spent, and they spent a lot of money and brought in a lot of players, the form started to dip. There was a lot of pressure on him, and particularly when you are a desperate club like that, it must be tempting to get the old P45 out and then fire him. But they not only did they stick with him, they gave him a new contract, which I think sent out the signal to the players, didn't it? I think I'm not suggesting there was any dressing room rebellion there, but if there ever was going to be any, that was very much the club saying, no, this is our man. You better get behind him. He's your boss. So I think that was, it really works. Is it a good move for everybody to do? Possibly not. But for them, I think it worked really well.
Are they doing what you expected, or are they perhaps doing a little bit better?
A little bit better, I think. It depends which way you look at it. I mean, David Moyes would have you believe that it's a hindrance to bring in new players. So by that rationale, maybe you'd expect Nottingham Forest to struggle. I mean, I get Penny for his thoughts on that, which is we have had to bring so many players in. That's they've taken a while to settle. That's why we're near the bottom. By his barometer, by his measure, his method of measuring that, Nottingham Forest should be rock bottom. So, but listen, if they brought in some decent players there, I don't claim to know all of them. One of them in particular, I think, is an excellent player, and they have a talented young manager and continuity there. They have massive history to that club to win 2 European trophies. That's a song that they can sing to everyone, isn't it, really? And what Brian Clough did under there. But they're not. So historically, in terms of tradition, they're a huge club. In terms of fan base, not so much. I don't, they're not Newcastle with, 55,000 fans every week, are they? Let's be fair. So they've done a bit better than I expected, but they're 5 points above the relegation. So it only takes another win. Beat us, and they'll probably be in mid-table, and you'd fancy them to go on the rest of the season and stay up. So they've done well.
And they've got Everton next up after us as well, I think. So it's two big games, really. If they did get maximum points, you'd be looking at that thinking, okay, I think they'll be okay.
I'll be crying.
You will be. They're doing what I expected, to be honest with you, Forest. I'm a big fan of Cooper when not even at Forest, previously to Forest as well, did an excellent job with them last season, had them playing really good football, came up against Premier League clubs in cup competitions and had a go at them and won those fixtures as well. And it was admirable what he was doing. And then when they came up, I was pleased to see them come up. I've never really seen Forest in the Premier League. Whilst I understand football, debatable, but whilst I understand football, I've never seen them play Premier League football. So it was nice to see them come up because you know all about them. It's a bit like Sheffield Wednesday. You get told about their history, how big a club they are, but you never really witness it. So I was pleased to see them come up, and I think they got I say far too much stick. I think they got a little bit too much stick for their spending in the summer because they had to. They didn't have a squad. There's so many players on loan, so many players out of contract. They had to go get those players. What was the alternative to go the season with 18 players or something like that? It's stupid. They had to go get all these. Have they got too much? Well, of course they have, because they've now got players at the club that are unregistered, but they've done what they've had to do. And I think when they spend as much as they did last summer and they've got the ambitious owners that they do, you have to make sure you stay up. And I think if they decide that having a couple of players on the wage bill that isn't registered is the cost of staying up, then so be it, kind of thing. But I do think they are. I should have went and checked. I would be surprised if they're not the team that's possibly benefited the most from that World Cup break. Post-World Cup, they've been fantastic, really hard to beat, 1 loss in their last 7 games or something like that. And Cooper needed it because the Premier League season got up and running while he was still bringing in players. So while he had a pre-season, he didn't have his full squad. He didn't know what his best 11 was. But that World Cup break allowed him just to step back a little bit, I think, and have a look at his squad, work out who he wants, who he doesn't want, and start to get a spine of the team. When I was watching them at the start of the season, every week I would put it on, they'd have a completely different team out. The defense would change, attack would change. Bar Brennan Johnson, everybody was changing. I thought, well, this is not going to be good, is it? But slowly but surely, over the course of the season, he's now starting to get a settled team in there. You know where Johnson's going to be playing. You know where Gibbs White's going to play. Scarpa's now in the team. Fuller is going to be sitting in front of the defense. Yates is coming back from injury now. You're starting to see what his first 11 is, or first 15 maybe, if you like, and it's yielding results for them. They are hard to beat at the minute. I think Cooper's done a fantastic job, and I think if he keeps them up, he's done a brilliant job. And do you think if Forest stay up this season, that you can see them then continuing to remain in the Premier League for a number of years anyway beyond this, or do you think it'll be another avoid relegation kind of thing next season?
Well, I think it's going to be hard for a club like Forest because there's just no way they can carry on spending for the reasons that I said. They don't have that massive attendance. It's going to bring in that income streams. They're going to have the same income as everybody else. And by the time these new rules come in, where actually you've got to not only break even, but you've got to make 5% profit and 10% profit. I think there's going to get to a point where you have to make 25% profit. Where that profit is going to go, I've no idea. But I think at that point, you cannot carry on to spend. So I just think unless you are a club with a massive attendance, it's going to be very hard to stay in the Premier. Guarantee that you're going to stay in the Premier League. So I think it's a video for a different day, but I think a lot of the rule changes coming in are going to be prohibitive to clubs of Nottingham Forest size, and you will find a lot of clubs that size yo-yo in because they just won't be able to continue to do what they do. The spending will have to stop, and at that point, it's sort of status quo with a lot of clubs. Then it's basically everyone gets £180 million a year from Sky or whatever, and then if your gate's the same as anybody else, are you going to spend that £180 million better than everyone else? It's a lottery, it really is.
I think they'll be fine if they stay up. I expect them to be a bit better off next season, somewhere, I don't know, around 15th upwards, but stay away from the relegation battle for the majority of it. I think what they've done now, they've got a lot of players in. Last summer, the summer just passed, Cooper didn't have a core of players to go off the back of. He didn't have that foundation. He had a handful of players from the Championship, and that was it. This summer coming, he's now got essentially a Premier League squad. Some of the players are not that great. They're average Premier League players, but that's where they'll have to get rid of them. And then when they bring players in, they're looking at quality rather than quantity. Whereas last summer, I think they were trying to do a bit of both. And it's not a very difficult thing when you're trying to bring in large amounts of people. You're under pressure to make sure you get the numbers in, and you end up buying players you probably don't really want or need. It might be your third choice or fourth choice, but out of desperation, you're like, well, he's better than no one. We're going to have to get him because we currently don't have a second choice right back. We need one, so we're going to have to take him. But now they're not in that position. They've got their squad depth here, there, and across the bar centre back, but they've got their squad depth. This summer it'll be about getting rid of the players Cooper doesn't want and bringing in a few players that can be an upgrade on what they've currently got. And I think they'll be fine. I think if they can stay up, they'll be fine. That's the big question, though. Do you think they'll stay up?
I mean, I honestly don't know. And it's not, do I think they'll be all right next year? I do. So it's just when I answered your question, you like sort of long term, a year upon year upon year upon year. That's what I meant. It'd be difficult. I think, and it's also not easy getting rid of players that you don't want. And we know that at West Ham. So, you might, one thing, identifying 12 players in your squad you want to get rid of, it doesn't necessarily, you start making big losses on them, that starts impacting your balance sheet as well. Do I think they'll stay up? It's so hard, Geo. It's so hard. I don't say that to dodge a question. I really don't do it. You asked me before, do I think Newcastle get top 4? I said no. I just, if come the end of the season, Southampton have gone on a run and stayed up, wouldn't surprise me. Bournemouth stay up, wouldn't surprise me. Crystal Palace drop down, wouldn't surprise me. Honestly, nothing would surprise me anymore. I don't expect anybody to stay up at this stage unless they're probably above Crystal Palace in the league at the moment or whatever. If they lose, they'll get drawn into it, and then they could get drawn into it. And they'll be looking at that as well. It's easy for us as West Ham fans. I feel quite doom and gloom at the moment. I think Nottingham Forest are more than capable of beating us. I think if they do beat us, I start looking at us thinking, oh, I already think there's high possibility we'll get relegated. But Nottingham Forest fans, until they've got it, they'll be worried. They'll be thinking, what if we lose to West Ham and what if we lose to Everton? Of course, if they do, then they're right in a mess, So, but Everton fans will be thinking it as well. It's the trouble when you're down near the bottom. You get a bit paranoid. I suspect they'll stay up. If I had to bet my last pound on it, I wouldn't do it. But if I had a spare pound, I'd bet on him staying up. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it just demonstrates how wild the bottom third of the Premier League is at the minute. Where you're looking at Forest at the minute, 13th in the league. If I said to you previously, they're 13th in the league. Don't look at the league table. They're team 13th. Think they'll be okay. You'd go, they'll be fine. They'll be okay. They're far enough away at this point in the season. They'll be okay. But it's so close at the minute that in a fortnight's time, Forest could be in the relegation zone. At the minute, there's a bit of daylight between them and the relegation zone. They're sitting 13. 2 weeks later, they could be in the bottom three. It just goes to show how extreme that bottom third of the table is at the minute. But I think they'll stay up. I think Cooper's a really good manager, and he's got them playing some decent football at the minute. When I say decent football, it's not always pretty on the eye, but sometimes it's efficient, and it's not the ugliest football I've ever seen. I think it's working well with the squad he's got. I mean, 1 loss in 7 speaks for itself. The defeat was away to Fulham. There's no shame in that. There's plenty of teams. They look where Fulham are at the table at the minute. There's no shame in getting beat to Fulham. In there was draws against Man City, Chelsea, wins against Southampton. They're doing all right. He's managed to turn it around in 2023, Cooper, and I think they'll be fine. Players you admire?
I mean, I don't really watch him play, Geo, to be fair, but I've seen little snippets, and when I've seen Johnson play, he looks really good. Going historically, I really like Gibbs White, as you know. I've liked him for quite some time now. When he was, I think he made his debut at 18-19 for Wolves, and ever since then, I just think he's a class apart. I think he's top quality. I know he was in and around the England squad at one time. I don't know, if that's I know he's not in the mix for that at the moment, but it wouldn't unless he's one of these players that changes his allegiance. Some of them do, don't they? I wouldn't be surprised. I'm having been through all the youth ranks of the England setup. I don't know. He might not have an Irish nan or anything like that, so he might not be able to do that sort of thing. But if I were him, I'd keep my powder dry because I think he's talented enough to get back in to that England setup. And I like Wilfred Bolly. I always sort of have liked him. I think he's a decent, a bullish sort of robust defender. So yeah, but I can't claim to know their players, Gio. I really can't.
But Brian Johnson's an interesting one. The first half of the season, I was thinking, he's struggling a bit here. And I thought Cooper should have dropped him, in fairness. I thought every week I was watching, he wasn't quite impacting the games and stuff. But I think over the last month or two, he's really stepped up to Premier League level now. And he started scoring goals for them, which is what they need. And he's looking like the player everybody's suspected. I mean, he's no secret, is he? He's not like nobody's heard of him. It's one of them. If Forest didn't come up, there would have been a host of clubs lining up to buy him in the summer. They came out, he stuck with them, and they're getting their rewards for it. I agree with Gibbs White, by the way. I think he's a sensational talent. He's a joy to watch at times. He's one of those players that's talented enough just to worry you. When you go to play Forest, you just worry about Gibbs White, and creator decent at set pieces as well. They've got a few players I've been disappointed by, and sometimes it's not their fault. There's been a lot of injuries at Nottingham Forest, like Nikate. I was looking forward to seeing him in the Premier League, but he's been injured. Owini's done okay, but again, limited appearances, had injuries as well. So there's been some players they brought in. I was looking forward to seeing them. Omar Richards as well was somebody we were all looking forward to seeing. He got injured before the league even started. Nico Williams is someone I was expecting to kick on at Forest, and he's done okay when I've seen him, but he's not the first choice right back or left back. I think Fuller has been a really good signing for them. They'll just adds that leadership in the middle of the pitch and quite calm and composed. And I think you need some experienced players when you're expected to be in the relegation battle. Forest were expected to be in the relegation battle of some form this season, and bringing him in, I think, was a really wise move. And in January, they went and got Navas, and when I've seen them in the last couple of games, he's just brought that calmness to between the sticks as well. A really good goalkeeper, obviously, with a prestigious history, and I think he's 36 now or something like that. So he's getting on a bit, but I think it's a good acquisition for Nottingham Forest. Anyway, shall we talk about our team?
I guess we ought to, really.
Would you like some team news, Gonzo?
I would love some team news,
There's
please.
A lot of team news, and it's all good news. Maxwell Cooney back in training. Not only is he back in training, he's put up his own social media post. Again, he likes them, but he said he's ready for battle. That's what Maxwell Cooney said. He's ready for battle. Kurt Zuma has been back in training this week. Paqueta is due back in training. He might be back in training today as we record it, and there's an outside chance he'll be available for Saturday. Skamaka's there, Ings is there. So we've got a fully fit squad. But I say fully fit, a fully available squad is maybe the better phrase there. But this is exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. If you want, I can't say I'm excited. No, I'm not. It's not exciting. It's good news. Is it exciting? Not for me, mate. No, it's been quite totally worn down by it, to be perfectly honest with you. And if I'd had any faith that David Moyes would utilise these players effectively, then I would be. I'd love to think that we'd see all of these attacking players out there, but the chances of it are very slim. I do think it will help us. Don't get me wrong; we stand a much better chance of avoiding relegation with these players back. But excited, no. I mean, maybe a sprinkling of relief, maybe, but excitement doesn't come into it at the moment, I'm afraid.
Yeah, you kind of need to see the team sheet on Saturday first before you start getting your hopes up. I understand your reservations, but don't worry, because the next part of the show isn't about what we think Moyes will do. It's about what me and you want to see. So this is where we can get a bit excited, and then we'll talk about if we're confident, and that's when we then think about what Moyes will do, and that's when our hopes slowly dwindle after getting excited. But anyway, let's talk about what Gonzo wants to see on Saturday afternoon. Would you like a formation change?
No, I don't think I would like a formation change. I would. There's a little smattering of adventure in me, which maybe would like a 4-4-2, but I think it's hard to play that effectively and win the game. Really, I think that might be a little difficult.
I like how you say that as if we've been playing three at the back effectively and winning games.
I know, yes, true, isn't it? The romantic in me, if you want, with it being Valentine's Day so recently, would like a 4-4-2, but I think it's probably not a good idea. So I am going to go with the 10. The 5 at the back for this one, and just try and mix it up and play with 2 up. So no, I'll keep the formation roughly the same.
I'm confident I know 10 of your starting 11. So let's go through your starting 11, then I'll give you mine. Your back 3, please.
I'll play Zuma in there basically. So it would be Kera, Zuma, and a Gerd would be the 3 centre halves.
And then your wing backs
would be Sufal, and it would be Emerson again. Everyone can make a mistake, and there you go. So but Emerson's shown enough good form in the previous 3 games to remain in the team despite that error. I'll take you through it all because I know you're on tenterhooks waiting to see what I'm going to say. It will be in the central midfield 3 would be Paqueta, would be Declan Rice, and it would be El Fornicador, the Fornicator. I'm bringing him back for this one.
And then your front 2?
Skamaka and Ings.
No Bowen?
No Bowen. No, I can't see how he fits in that formation, really.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, arguably...
Well, I want to play 2 strikers, Geo. I think it's really important we score some goals, play 2 strikers.
I guess that's partly the problem, though, isn't it? This square pegs and round holes, which we've seen in the past. And sometimes it works. Sometimes you get a little bit lucky or you discover something like Michail Antonio, like Aaron Craswell playing left centre-back in a back 3. But there is other times where it just doesn't really work. We've seen examples
4-4-2 is in, Geo. 4-4-2, Bowen's in the team. Absolutely.
Well, guess my formation I want to see.
4-4-2.
It is, yes.
Come on, let's have it.
Well, you can probably guess it as well. I mean, it's just similar personnel to you. I would like to see Sufal, Zuma, Agerd, and then Ben Johnson back. And the reason for Ben Johnson is because this is where what Gonzo's just done there, essentially pick the right players for the right formation and right strategy. And if I was playing wing backs, it certainly would be Emerson, but I'm not. And I've got doubts. I've got reservations over Emerson at left back. I've got no evidence at West Ham that Emerson is a good left back. I don't have any. As a wing back, yes, it's got plenty. We've just seen it. Wing back, no. It's just still suspect defensively, and that's with a Gerd behind him to bail him out in a back 3. In a back 4, don't trust him. So it's between Ben Johnson and Aaron Craswell, and because of sort of like the attacking emphasis in the rest of my team, I've gone with safety first, which is Ben Johnson. My midfield 4, Bowen, Paqueta, Rice, Maxwell Cornet.
Nice.
And then Ings and Smack up front. I want goals. Goals.
I like it. I like it. I mean, there is adventure and romance and all that stuff. I do like it.
It's finishing 4-3, hopefully to West Ham, but that's got goals. The game's got goals when you field a team like that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's such a shame we don't have a manager that would do that, But it is great, and we do have attacking players within the squad. We really do. We have any number of permutations where we could send out a team which would have them scrambling for the last hour, rejigging their stuff, basically, pulling someone like Bolly to one side and say, right, okay, that thing we worked on in training is different now, right? You're going to be dealing with him. You're going to be dealing with him. Saying to Nico Williams starts, right, okay, this is not what we thought was going to happen. You're not going to be marking a wing back. You're going to have a fullback and a winger there. This is what you're going to be doing. And it would just have them scrambling and having to think what they have to do. Unfortunately, for us, we'll be reasonably predictable and not give them too much to scratch their heads about.
Now, forget about what we want to see for a second then, and let's talk about the attack, essentially. I think it's important we see Ings and Scamacca start for this game.
I think it's important we see Ings start. Listen, I'd play Scamacca, but for taking that away, I think it's important we see Ings play, because otherwise, I've got to say, if Ings doesn't start this game, then the question arises: who signed this player? Because you would be hard to make a case to say that Moyes signed him, and I think it would be very, very hard. If I were Danny Ings, there's no way he signs as a bench player from Aston Villa to come and sit on the bench for West Ham. And I imagine whoever he had those negotiations with would have told him you're playing, because I don't think he'd have come otherwise. So I think Danny Ings not starting provides more questions than answers. I listened to your show last night and you said if one chance were to fall to someone, you'd pick Danny Ings. Absolutely right. So it's not just in terms of the transfer and in terms of my concerns about that, which I just articulated. It is actually to get someone on the pitch that can score some goals. But he must have support. Danny Ings up on his own. I mean, honestly, don't you do not want to be seeing that. That'd be a nasty old build-up show. I think I'll spend most of it sort of hitting my head on the desk here, basically. So, Danny Ings, very important.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've just said there. Ings must start. He must have a strike partner. And if he does it, this is where you can always use Moyes' words against him. Literally last week, after we got beat by Spurs, he said, we need to get players scoring. Then the first person he mentioned was Danny Ings. So it's a case of, well, hang on a minute. You've then got to play the guy then. If you're talking about you want him to score, and like I said, he does go on to name the other players as well, one by one, but he started with Danny Ings first and foremost. Well, put him in the team then, give him the best chance. And when you talk about he came to West Ham to play, especially in these games, especially at home to a relegation rival, away to Spurs, I can kind of get it. I can kind of get why Moyes wouldn't do that. And he would opt for Antonio and Bowen, perhaps two more mobile, quicker players up there to play counter-attacking football. I get that. But you're not going to be able to play counter-attacking football against Nottingham Forest at home on Saturday. They're not going to allow you to do that. So you're better off going for people that can do it in and around the box, not in and around the halfway line. And Danny Ings has got to be that man. He has to start. And if he does and the team is right, my confidence will increase.
Sure.
Massive amounts of pressure on David Moyes going into this one. And when people sometimes have a grievance, if you like, with the quote, go for it. When we talk about draws against Chelsea and Newcastle, and you'll say, well, I think we should have gone for it. The game was overtaken. And some people say, you can't just go for it. What do you want to do? And I think it gets taken out of context. It doesn't always mean throw the kitchen sink. There's ways you can do it responsibly. But do you think for this game, though, it is a case of you need to go for it, a la kitchen sink style?
Yeah, well, it's just this binary way of arguing now, isn't it? There's no nuance there. A lot of people do this, because it's that's that whole thing. What's your favorite takeaway? Oh, I like a curry. Oh, so you don't like Chinese then? And it's no, that's not it at all. And just because
you don't like Chinese, we've discovered this 3 years ago.
I do like Chinese. I love Chinese. Anyway, but it's that whole thing. Oh, I want to attack. Oh, right then. So you just want to ship goals at the back, then? Do you?
You don't want to have any centre backs playing.
Exactly, and it's a tedious it's not even an argument. It's not something you could actually do if someone was stood in front of you. It's an internet way of arguing, right? Anyway, so no, I think absolutely. Do we want to be reckless? Of course not be reckless. We have Kurt Zuma and we'd have a Gerd at the back. They're fine centre backs. We'll even have a defensive midfielder sat in front of them. Okay. So no, I'm absolutely not suggesting playing Mubama at centre half, right? But let's go for it. Let's have a go.
Do you not like Mubama?
Exactly. It's exactly how I see. That's it. I know, but yeah, absolutely. Let's clip that bit out and
you give David Moyes a hard time for not playing the youth, but you will give Mubama a chance on Saturday.
This is exactly the sort of quote mining I'm talking about. That's wonderful, Geo. I love it. That's great. It's actually just that's wonderful, particularly given a lot some of the things I've heard in the last 3 days. Yeah, Gonzo won't give you for chance. Yeah, I love it. We got to go for it. We do actually have to go for it. We have to show some ambition, and commit to trying and scoring some goals. David Moyes is no fool, and I know some people are saying, "What? Yes, he is." He will understand the value of a home game, the precarious situation we're in. David Moyes has been in charge at the Burnley game when it all kicked off at the stadium. He will know that he can't do that. He needs to give the crowd something. And as I said before, look, the crowd will go in there, the crowd will sing Bubbles, they'll cheer, come on you Irons, everyone will be standing up and singing. But what we need straight away is a corner or something like that, right? So the team give us something, and then we give them something. Come on, you Irons, and then we go for it. And then something, then there's a crunching tackle, and we go for it. There's a payoff and there's a trade-off between the team and the crowd there. He will know that. I mean, he can't continue to just insult us by, whatever, so-called experts and lacking football intelligence and all the rest of it. He'll be cupping his ear at us next. He can't continue to do this stuff. He has to give us something to get behind. I think the way to do that is by attacking. Let's have, as I say, a series of, even if you don't score early on, a series of corners, something that gets us up for it, a few oohs and a few ahs, and just have a go. And let's get, even if he just commits to, on occasion, having 2 more people in the box and we're attacking, or just give us something. I think that's what we need to do.
It's a large part of the issue for me, losing 2-0 away. Forget Tottenham, let's just call it a Sky Sports 6 club. Losing 2-0 away to one of those, it's not the end of the world, but it's the attitude, the lack of desire, the lack of fight, the lack of intent to score a goal, never mind win the game, just to hear him say, we tried to keep it tight, and basically say my game plan relying on keeping a clean sheet for 70 minutes. It's just bonkers, and it's not something I can ever get behind. Even if it was yielding results, I'd still struggle to get behind it. It worked for Allardyce, but the football was horrific, and the fan base couldn't get behind it generally. It was like, I don't care if it's working, I don't care if it's winning. It's horrible. It's not enjoyable. Football for fans is about entertainment, and I guess for the club it's about success and winning things. And I would argue most of the time they go hand in hand, but there is sometimes it doesn't, and that's when winning ugly isn't always the best way to do it. And you can stomach it for certain games, like Forest at home to Man City last weekend. I bet they didn't mind the fact they got battered for a large period because they came away with a point, and it would have felt like a win to them. Get in, look what we've just done against that City team. So you can stomach that. But at home to Forest, with the greatest of respect to them, this ain't the game that you can accept holding out for 60 minutes, 0-0, and then try and put on smacking innings and go and get the win. No, we need to see more from this. And if Moyes is going to go defensive in the previously 3 fixtures, he's almost got to justify it by winning this game. He's almost got to say, right, now I'll beat Forest. And then he's got a bit of an argument there. You can say, look, I'll win the bread and butter games. That's why I'm still here. It justifies David Sullivan's decision to keep Moyes in charge, which is, I've got faith in him beating Forest, beating Leeds and Southampton, and that's going to keep us in the Premier League. So Saturday is a huge game, not just for David Moyes, but also David Sullivan as well. Because if we get beat, it makes that numpty look like a bigger numpty than he previously did.
Yes.
Are you confident?
No, not in the slightest. I don't know.
Can I give you a little confidence booster?
Yeah, I was gonna say if someone else is, I'll have some of whatever they had in their sandwiches.
Nottingham Forest are the worst team away from home in the league.
Oh, is that so?
They're bottom.
I didn't know that. Okay.
They've got 6 points. I mean, we've only got 6 points as well, but we've got a better goal difference.
Absolutely. That's terrible. Isn't it terrible?
So they're 20th in the league for away from home.
Wow. Wow. I how bad is that? They've got to take some crumb and crumbs of comfort from somebody else. We're the 19th worst hit, but you know what? The team
18th.
rocking up.
There's someone else worse. I think
it's getting better. The longer this video goes on, the more confident I'm becoming.
I think it's because we don't play Mubama centre back, but I don't want to make any allegations.
I'll tell you what, I've stumbled on something there. No, I'm not confident. No, that's good. I think we can win, though. I think we. I was
going to say, if he played your team, would you then think, we're going to win this?
I think we could trounce them. I really do, Geo. But they are not good. And I don't mean that, I think they've got some really, really good players. I think if we were positive and we got the crowd behind us and there was 60,000 fans in there, they can be under pressure as well. They absolutely can be. But Moyes doesn't recognise this. He never does. He never recognises, never puts his foot on someone's throat in that sense. He just doesn't understand it. He doesn't, honestly, he can't comprehend it. I think absolutely we could absolutely swarm them. But I think the hardest thing he's got to do is motivate the players. And I think that's my biggest concern. He can have all these players back. And I think it's a lazy thing to say he's lost the dressing room. I don't say that because it would indicate nobody likes him anymore. I don't think that's the case. I've seen the training ground footage. They all seem happy enough when they're training, and it doesn't look like the training ground is an unhappy place. Clearly, it's all going to be edited, and even if there was, they're going to cut out any miserable faces or anything like that, of course. I don't think he's lost the dressing room in that sense, but I don't look at the team and see a group of players who believe in his tactics anymore. So when David Moyes goes into the dressing room and says, right, lads, we're gonna keep it tight for the first 70% and all that stuff. If I was in that dressing room, I know I'd just go, yeah, right, okay, Gaffer, yeah, sure. I'll go, no, you know what? And you go and give it your best, but you'd be there thinking, I've got no belief it's going to work. We're just going to, we're going to surrender possession. They're going to pick us off, and then because we can't score goals, because we can't ever seem to keep any number of attackers on the pitch at the same time that have any sort of cohesion, it's going to be a struggle. But he can do it. He can do it. I want to see. I've said this for so long now, it doesn't even matter anymore. It doesn't even matter. It's diluted because I've said it so many times. I want to see something that shows he wants to keep his job. Show some ambition. Go out fighting. And go out with those same tactics that have served you so poorly, that have got us into this situation over the last 12 months. Horrendous tactics. Horrendous. And if he plays them and we lose, and he loses his job as a result, he deserves it because he hasn't grasped it when he's had one last chance. I hope he does. I hope he changes. I say he'll never change his spots. Let's hope that's not the case. And let's hope he actually can. And he thinks, you know what, this is my last chance. Let's have a go. We'll go out and we won't look back with regret and think, I should have tried more in that last game. That's what I think.
He can change it as well, though. He's got a fully fit squad, fully available squad. Are they match fit? Paqueta's only missed one game. It's not the end of the world. Cornet's obviously missed a long time, but he's been doing gym work at the worst for quite a while now, so he must be relatively fit. Ings he missed one game. He's been around for a couple of weeks now. Skamaka was available at the last weekend as well. He's had another week in training. Kurt Zouma, of course, there'll be question marks about, but you're never going to get 100% Kurt Zouma. Never. You can give it another month. You still won't have 100% one. It's almost like as soon as he's patched up, you've just got to play him until he breaks down again. He's
Ledley King. He's Paul McGrath.
While he's available and patched up, use him because even if you were to not use him, there's a good chance you won't have him for next weekend anyway because something's happened in training. So while you've got Zouma available, unfortunately, you're just going to have to play him through the pain barrier and hope that he comes good because he's good. When he's 80% fit, he's good. It's not like that. I think Ledley King is a perfect example, actually, which is you just have to manage him the best you can because on a Saturday afternoon, you know damn fine that he's your best or one of your best centre backs available to you. So he's got the tools there to change it. There's no excuses this weekend. It's not like he's got Antonio fit, Ings and Skamaka's out, so he's a little bit stuck. He has to play Antonio. Maybe he puts Ben Ram or Bowen up front alongside him or something. No. This is it. Whatever your game plan's been, whatever your plan's been in January, and you sat there biting the top of your biro pen thinking, who will buy? And you thought, Danny Ings, because I can do this. Well, let's see it. Let's see what this is. If it was Cornet on the left, Bowen on the right, and Ings through the middle, let's see it. You know, we looked good against Wolves at home when Cornet was on the left and Bowen was on the right and Scamacca was down the middle. Well, let's see something. Let's see promise. When you talk about something like you said, I want to see Moyes fighting for his job. My genuine worry is he's not even got that in him anymore. The last couple of things he's been saying, it's almost like I get sacked, so be it. And it's like that's a guy that just doesn't even sound like he's arsed anymore. It's almost like, well, I'll get the sack, but at least I'll get my £5 million or whatever, and I'm sure I'll get over it eventually. He doesn't even sound bothered anymore if he gets the sack. And if he generally feels like that then I hope he does get the sack just for feeling like that to some extent. But I'm not confident, Gonzo. It's hard to be, isn't it? We're already playing a team that's lost 1 in 7.
Yeah.
You know, should we win this game? If football's played on paper, then yes, we have better players, but it's not. They have a better manager. They're in better form.
Yep.
They're better informed players with the likes of Bennett Johnson. They have a settled formation. They know what they're doing. They're coming in off the back of a 1-1 draw home to City, which feels like a win for them. They're bouncing into the London Stadium this weekend. The fans will be right up for it because they know they win. That's 8 points between them and West Ham. That's huge at this point in the season for them. They've got everything to gain and almost not quite nothing to lose. That 2-point gap would make them a little bit nervous, but they can still get out of it. It's still in their hands. So this is a dangerous team for us to play this weekend, I think, because I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I'll say that. They'll come out early. They'll have a go at us, but they'll also be defensively hard to break down. They'll sit back in numbers as well because they've got faith in Johnson. They've got faith in Gibbs-White and whoever else plays through the middle with them, that actually when we do get the ball to them, we can go cause them problems with the pace we've got in the counter-attack. We'll cause them some issues. What's your final thoughts on your score prediction? I'm struggling with my score prediction. I haven't actually got one. So it'll be interesting to see what you've got.
I think it could be 1-1 or something like that, which is just
it depends entirely on the team, doesn't it? Because
it does, and it is hard, Geo, and it wears you down. I've got to say, all this stuff it wears you down, and I don't think it's just us as fans that it will wear down. I worry that it would wear the players down. Maybe David Moyes has been relishing this opportunity to have another chat with Jesse again, see if we can get him to join. I really don't know. I also see a beaten man when I look at David Moyes there. But I think more concerningly, I see a man that doesn't have any ideas left. And that is a worry. There are, with all those players fit, there is no excuse now. If with all these players fit, then there's only one last excuse that's left, which is, oh, well, okay, we brought a lot of players in, which is used, and they failed to settle. And it's the last retreat of an excuse of a desperate man if he uses that. He's got a lot to say. He's said.
But in the other dugouts, a manager with more players brought in who's had just as much injuries.
I agree, which is why I said it at the start. I don't consider it to be a valid excuse, but David Moyes is talking a lot recently, and it's been my view for some time. He actually just needs to knuckle down. He needs to fight. He needs to get the team winning. The biggest thing, Gio, is managing the mood in the stadium and in the team. If he can do that and he can inject some positivity into the team, then it'll inject some positivity into the stadium. If you can do that, it becomes it's never going to be totally hostile because it's so far from the pitch, but it becomes a more hostile environment. But I don't want him to overlook. Look, you could look at, I've seen him on the counter-attack, particularly when Gibbs-White plays Brennan Johnson through. Very good. Very, very good. And the last thing I need is David Moyes worrying about that stuff because he worries about everybody. As it's just another excuse. Well, do you know what? We'll play another defender. At some point, you've got to go and give the opposition team something to worry about. And that's all that I can hope will happen, mate.
You go with your 1-1?
I think I will, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 1-1 as well because I'm not confident in seeing a front two of Ings plus 8 other. Well, Ings and Bowen, I can see that because he'll want to put Bowen in somewhere, and if he's going to go 2 up front, he's going to put him in up front because he doesn't want to drop David Bowen, which I kind of get it. I think he had a good game against Spurs. He had a rubbish one against Chelsea, but he's been generally in pretty good form. But there's plenty of players this weekend for square pegs and square holes. There's no need to shoehorn players out of position. I want to see something on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it, actually. I'm really looking forward to this weekend. I'm not nervous. Against Tottenham, I was really nervous. I don't know why. But this weekend, I'm not nervous anymore. I'm looking forward to it, and I want to see reactions on the pitch and off the pitch. I want to see something. I want a positive win. I want a good win, a solid win that makes me come away on Saturday thinking, do you know what? We might be okay. Play like that again, we'll win that other 4 games this season. Big ask. But anyway, if you enjoyed this preview, please do drop a like on it by clicking the thumbs up. It's completely free, helps out the channel. Subscribe if you're new to Hammers Chat. Myself and Gonzo. Catch you in a bit.